Why, hello, friends, and welcome to Talking with Famous People, where tonight I'm guaranteeing spectacular fun. So, what happens if I don't come through? What happens if you arrive at this live stream and you determine that you're not having spectacular fun? How will I fulfill my guarantee? Well, I'm going to give you your time back. So, if in fact you arrive here and spend some time in this live stream and you're not having spectacular fun, then at the end of the stream, let's say it's 45 minutes of not spectacular fun, I will give you back 45 minutes of your life. That's how I fulfill the guarantee. I'm going to pay it back incrementally, 1 minute every year for the next 45 years. So, be prepared for that reality. That goes along with it naturally. It's not I gotta make a living, I can't be giving hours and weeks and months to people willy-nilly. But yeah, if you don't have spectacular fun during this live stream, then you can request a minute's refund for any minutes that you spent here that were not spectacularly fun at the end of it. And I will tack them on to the end of your life for you. Pretty good deal. Now, of course, if you do have spectacular fun, then you have to add minutes onto my life. It's only fair. I'm a smoker, so I need them. You needed 5 cc's of instant fun. Lightweight. Take it to the dome. Take that spectacular fun straight to the dome. Another word for what we're having right now might be called elation. I'm experiencing elation. It likely is derived from being elated. Could be a quadruple, a naturally occurring quadruple, which sometimes you'll run across one in nature. Oh my God, is that a naturally occurring quadruple? Yeah, it is. It really, really is. I will. I'll take it to the dome shortly. Just give me a second. I'll take it to the dome. So I made a video that I'm going to upload when it's done encoding and everything. And the title of it is going to be Matthew Acut's Garbage Paper. Oh my God. Talk about a frustrating experience. Oh yes, I did. But I mean, it's such garbage that you don't even know where to begin. It's like, yeah. I made one. You almost made one. Well, that's just as good. About Matthew Alcott's paper. The paper is called DM theory, datalogical metaphysical theory. And it's absolutely garbage. Like, there's nothing but pure garbage in it. Well, the nice thing is, what I did in the video was I was able to contrast against something that has value and something that doesn't. It's garbage and from a douche author. I agree with you, Freddie Forgiato. I totally agree. Well, I think you'll like this video. Hi, Morridge. One thing I like about garbage is always food in it if you look hard enough. Not always. Not always. Sometimes you happen upon a bag that's full of nothing but biomedical waste, such as Matthew Alcott's paper. Tell you where there's always food, though. You know, Anthrax. Your mom's face. There's always food there. Whenever I go to your mom's face, I I have a bowl of cereal. Fair enough. Fair enough, emailed Anthrax. You're right. I need to consider garbage's feelings. I shouldn't compare it to Matthew Alcott's paper. No, I don't think of that as a memory thing, really. I see that as fully maximized NI. SI does. SI is not how you remember music. It might be how you remember lyrics, but music's an identity thing. In the same way that you don't use language to recognize people, so too you don't use memory really to remember. You don't really remember music. You remanifest it, because of course music is a durational thing. Well, I'm an indie dom and I'm very musical. One of the most interesting things in that Glenn Gould article is I've talked about for quite some time now this phenomenon I have when I'm falling asleep. And the phenomenon could be simply described as, well, I'll read this thing about the phenomenon from Glenn Gould. All right, so it says here, there's a quote from him, and he's talking about something that I've mentioned before. I never really heard anybody else talk about before. This guy's obviously a musical phenomenon, so to speak. He was a child prodigy and was described in adulthood as a musical phenomenon. He said, name any piece of music you cannot instantly play from memory. He's not playing it from memory, right? He's saying, my intuition about these musical entities is so exact that I will reproduce them for you precisely, even though I haven't studied it at all. In other words, without any SI. So the thing I wanted to read, though, was let's see. I'm sure I'll find this thing. Here it is. The only thing I can really remember is that when I was being brought home in the car, I was in that wonderful state of half awakeness in which you hear all sorts of incredible sounds going through your mind, all orchestral sounds, but I was playing them all. This is the phenomenon I've explained before, where only when I'm half asleep and half awake can I hear a whole song in my head and focus on one part of it while the rest of it continues to play unbidden, I can't do it consciously when I'm awake, but I've never heard anybody else talk about that thing before. It was nice to read that somebody else has the same experience. Now, getting back to the question about NE versus NI, I think that music is, it's like born of NE, but but best realized through NI. As an NE Dom, what I've had to do is learn how to invite and accept introverted intuition. I remember writing music as a kid, composing music on the piano, except I wasn't composing the music on the piano. I was writing notes on the thing and then trying to play it. And if it sounded anything like a regular song, I'd change it to make it sound weirder, even as a kid, right? But I was of course, a complete failure as a composer as a consequence. I had no concept of how to write music of any kind. It was a complete disaster. And part of the reason is because the way they taught me piano was fucking totally fucked up for an NE Dom. You know, you don't throw a bunch of TE at an ENTP and say, here, this is how we're going to include you in an artistic process. Do a bunch of drills, you know, and learn scales and shit. She just showed me a couple chords and said, now start singing random shit on top of it. And you'll get the hang of it. No, don't sing weird shit. Sing shit that sounds cool. It sounds familiar, but it's not actually a song. So you should embrace that part. That's a good approach to music for an ENTP student. So, needless to say, I never took to the piano. I did enjoy boys choir because there wasn't any TE to it at all. It was all stuff I just naturally could do without any problem. So when they introduced a song and they played a couple times, and some of the other boys would have trouble getting the melody down or whatever, I already had it down. It was easy. When other boys were pitchy, I was only pitchy when I was nervous. And soloing, I'd get a little pitchy. I remember getting this from the choir director when I was singing a solo one time, which meant I was flat. But when there wasn't some extenuating circumstance like that, yeah. So well, you can teach TI using a TE frame, okay. You can't teach anything without a TE frame, frankly. So, I've got when I go to teach conditional logic, it's an order of operations. First, I teach them to represent two variable, two statement arguments with just and as a statement connective. Because that alone is a bit of a trick. Because the sentence, Jody went to the store, but Bob went to the game, is and. The sentence, Jody went to the store while Bob went to the game, is and. The sentence, Jody went to the store although Bob went to the game, is and. So there's lots of different ways we say and, you know. And then Jody and Steve went to the game is two statements, potentially, depending on. So you'd want to break that into Jody went to the game and Steve went to the game. But Jody went to the game with Steve is not two statements. It's one statement. So understanding like all those things is somewhat trickier than it seems maybe at first. So I throw a lot of weird ways that we say P and Q. There's shit tons of weird ways that our sentence boils down to just P and Q, but we say this convoluted meow. Well, Ali D, you are currently knee deep in it. It's getting your shins and your calves wet. Margaritas are awesome. Yeah, margaritas are awesome, but they're a little too awesome for me. I'll tell you something that's awesome. Klonopin. If you want to go to sleep, um, and it doesn't necessarily put me to sleep. Even if I'm kind of sprung, and I take half one usually. If sometimes I take one to go to sleep. Sometimes it just makes me feel good while just being sprung. But I don't take them that often because they're rituals, and I don't generally like the idea of getting into benzos at all. But I do have sleep issues, so occasionally, like tonight, I took one before I just took one right as I started the strain, figuring, by the time I'm an hour in, maybe I'll be ready to go to sleep. I need to get some good sleep tonight because I've got a 10 a.m. Debate appointment tomorrow, and I need to do more work on the neg before I do that job. Hi, Sean. TI versus FI in regards to drug use. Well, I think that both TI and FI are going to take an individualistic approach to drug use, whereas T and FE are more likely to say we can universalize this issue. FI and TI are both likely to say, I want to do what I want to do, and you got to establish, TI is going to say there's nothing wrong with it. FI is going to say, I don't care if there's anything wrong with it. And, post meridian. Let's see if that video is done yet. It takes quite a while sometimes for these things to encode. It's done. I can start to upload it in theory. TI will find something wrong if it's an outlier, or is that NI? I mean, look, NI and TI are best described or best explained with this example. So I was talking to that soul lady. She wanted to get some debate coaching from me, basically. And she said that COVID was man-made. When I push her on this conclusion, she gets, as to like, well, why do you conclude that? She doesn't adequately justify it, okay? And she doesn't like the idea of having to super adequately justify it because she's not really sure exactly why she believes it and not the alternative thing. So, but, I tend to, everybody is susceptible to their fifth slot function. So especially the one that's your same kind of judging functions. So I was influenced enough by it to look into it after I was done talking to her. I actually researched it some and read the various positions on it. And I have good reasons to believe that it is in fact man-made, which I articulated in a video not that very long ago. Mostly the reason somebody else articulated that. I went and found a bunch of articles and positions on it. Only one person that was writing about it did a good job, and that was the one that I referenced. Everybody else did a terrible job. He's actually doing that guy correctly argued something. He's like, the reason we ought to conclude it's man-made, and he laid out a good case. The central warrant of it is that there are, there are a couple of spots on the gene of the virus that are exact copies of elements of a virus from a gene bank. So the thing is this. That could be factually true or factually false, right? But everything that I looked at when I tried to figure out, if this was correct or not, nobody said that was factually false. Nobody addressed the warrant as to why this was man-made. Everybody just said scientists agree it's not man-made. But they didn't say the reason people that the actual warrant that people are using to claim that it is man-made was false. They didn't say that there weren't 100% exact copies of something from a gene bank. In fact, I found a very dense science paper linked to from that thing that claims that science paper's approach to it is, from what I can tell, parsing through the dense stuff, is that yes, they are 100% match, and there's no explanation right now besides the fact that they might have been taken from this gene bank. But the scientist is confident that with more data gathering, they'll find a local source that explains this. Yeah, you should come over sometime soon. So the thing is, the guy makes the case that there's sort of forensic evidence that's strongly suggestive of a man-made virus, which is also strongly suggestive that it was not made to be a bioweapon. Because as the guy explains, the clear signs of editing that were left behind would be easy for somebody to cover up if they were trying to make a bioweapon, which leads this guy to conclude that it is most likely legitimate virus work, in other words, funded for the purpose of fighting viral infections in general, but it's an accidental release of the virus from the lab. Another good point he makes is that the reported ground zero is between two labs that are known to be doing work on those kinds of viruses. And he also makes the point that if it really had nothing to do with the release from these labs, then the primary scientists in charge of these labs would certainly be front and center in China's public efforts to address the question. Instead, they've been hidden away and nobody's been given access to them. This combination of forensic evidence and strong circumstantial evidence makes it reasonable to say that the best conclusion is that the virus is man-made with an accidental release. Does that mean that we should assume that's necessarily the case? No, it's just that's the best conclusion. So, she was right. Did she know why she was right? Not really. So what does that tell us? NI picks up a lot of cues from a bunch of holistic a bunch of data, and then holistically draws a determination about it. When you try to press them to justify it, they get flustered because even though they're right, they can't articulate exactly why, like I just did. That because they didn't come to the conclusion the way that I did, right? They came to the conclusion by just intuiting it. I had to go read the arguments and figure out who was right. You mean listen up, damn it? A Ford is always a truck, but a truck isn't necessarily always a Ford. That's true. Yes. That it was man-made? I mean, note that I never denied that it was man-made. My position was it didn't matter, and I didn't have a position on it. So it's not like I'd ever disputed that it was man-made. I said that's focusing on the wrong issue. I still think it's focusing on the wrong issue, but I agree that it changes the question. It changes the economy of the question somewhat. Fjord, right? If you can't afford a ford, afford a fjord. Okay, that's the best advice you'll ever get. If you can't afford a ford, then just afford a fjord. Well, and this guy, I think, very convincingly argues that the only fully reasonable conclusion, in other words, the only conclusion that's fully consistent with the data, is that it was man-made for benign purposes, and then user error caused it to be released. Did the virus have a goal? Well, he scored a goal in the last World Cup, but that was only his second cap, his second attempt at international play, so that's pretty good. Playing NI with overactive TI sounds like woo-woo BS, and I ain't got no time for bullshizzle. Well, yeah, and the thing is, here's the biggest problem, too, is overactive TI can be imitated with something that is definitely not TI, but it sounds a lot like it, and that is absolute garbage. So it's like Matthew Alcutt gives all philosophy a bad name with his nonsense. All right, and that's the other thing. What Swift Eagle says here is important to remember. Opportunistic people are opportunistic. So what that means is when situations present themselves and somebody is positioned to benefit from it, they will act to cash in those benefits. It's also the case that who benefits is sometimes a good way to determine who's responsible for something. But those two things run afoul of each other. So yes, my benefit could be a motive for me taking an action, but it could also be the motive for me taking the action, So it's like, instead of starting the whole thing, I'm just taking advantage of the chaos. That doesn't mean, even though I benefit dramatically from the chaos, it doesn't mean I'm responsible for it. It just means I'm responsible for the fact that I decided to take an exploitative approach to this chaos or something. The titillation police? Yeah, well, titillation is something we have to police a lot around here, because I've noticed that people are constantly getting titillated. Probably it's because of my extraordinarily sensual and titillating nature, I would guess. It might be because of my large heaving bosom. That's possible as well. Would you say that my bosom is more heaving or more bouncy? Am I more heaving or bouncy? What do you think? Hefty, huh? Hefty. I got hefty boobs. I'm not sure if hefty is normally considered a good adjective for boobs. I like it. I go for some hefty boobs, sure. But emaciated, Louis the 17th, I am removing from you your right to the royal line of France. Yeah, this is at least a C cup. Come on. Look at me. I'm a girl. That's how girls act, you know. yeah. Baby. I hope so. I know I will have totally succeeded in life if I see a clip of that as a negative campaign ad by my opponents. It'll be the happiest day of my life. It'll be like, wow, look how much of an impact I'm making. Emailed Anthrax. Let me tell you something about attractiveness. So, emailed Anthrax, his panties just fell onto the floor. And the reason he can't type into the chat right now is because he's reaching down to pick them up. They're sopping wet. Just throw them straight into the washing machine. Why is the sixth slot the lust function? Well, I don't know if that's true or not. It's a hypothesis of mine. And my reasoning is basically extrapolating from my own experience. So, in regards to sexual intercourse, I like TE. It's like the only place in my life I do like it. And in my dream scenario, perhaps I'd have a clipboard the whole time. And keep track of her progress. So if that sounds a little weird, I'm not saying that it's not weird. I'm just saying that if you're asking me why sixth slot would be that, I have no idea. I'm just extrapolating from my own experience and thinking maybe, because it's also true, I think, that ISFJs and INFJs want FI in sex. So and that's also their sixth slot function. I think that FENC. Well, yeah, okay. And then like my ESFJ wife, she was, very SE about the whole thing, I guess. Regardless, like I said, I'm just extrapolating from my experience without any other warrant for it. So take it with lots of grains of salt. You think the polar is your lust function? You want to know your body? It's the part that starts down right here and goes down to the bottom. That's your body. Anybody else with any basic anatomy questions I'd like to answer? Who said something about kids being goats? What does NE look like as the lust function? Well, that would mean, so presumably if you are NI tool, NE6, then you want a lot of variety in sex. You want to maybe have sex with a lot of different people, or maybe NE likes to talk dirty probably, but also it might be like, okay, now you pretend you're working at a train station and I'm a customer with a complaint, and it's like that kind of stuff. It's like scenario sex or whatever. I would guess mostly. I much more prefer SI in the sense that there's not a lot of variation in how Rachel and I have sex. It's like the same way every time, pretty much. Good question, Kyra. Kyra asks, is my spleen in my cranium? And the answer is no. It's somewhere in the part below the neck. This is the body part, contains the spleen. I'm sorry you're lonely, Salty Peanut. Fuck being a lamb. I'm a goat, and goats are lonely. Okay. I'm going to remove this comment here. Just for the record, in case anybody was confused by Louis' comment, it is in fact the case. Oh, you're making a goat pun. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I apologize for removing your goat pun. My bad. It was just, he said kids aren't humans. And I was like, why would he say that? That's awful. But he was just making a goat joke. And I didn't recognize it as such. Well, it's not okay, Salty Peanut. Suffering, especially loneliness, is not okay. I'm glad you're here and we're talking, you know. That's the thing is, I used to be so lonely and I didn't ever even know that I was until I started doing this YouTube channel. And I realized what the alternative to lonely was, you know. So now whenever I feel lonely or just bored, or well, it's not even lonely. Whenever I feel like cabin fever or something, I just want to, I need to check in with everybody on the internet. That's you guys. I'm not sad that I'm lonely because someone's always at my door. Is it always the same person? I feel like I'm a bit more SE sexually, but I'm ENFP. I almost wondered if it's any. Well, as an ENFP, you should have FE as you want FE in your sexual intercourse. FE sex is making the other person, like figuring out what's turning the other person on, I guess, and trying to, yeah. Well, you know, FE third slot is selfish. So, I basically had to find somebody who wanted things the way I wanted them, you know, because I'm lazy. You brush your teeth? Wow. You were really getting going here. All walks of life go to your house? What did they go there for? Did they try to convert you to Mormonism? I'm working with the mind of a 9-year-old in 18th century France. Cut me some slack. Louis the 17th. You got a good point there. I'm surprised you speak English so well, in fact. Yeah, me too. IDGAF. Throw the binder. Then I'm like, shit, I need these papers. You sound amusingly droll. Is that the word? Sassy and droll. Drassy. Well, that's true. I guess instead of giving you the guillotine, they gave you immortality. I really would like to get a haircut where I just go to the barber and I say number 2 all around or 2.5 all around. And then she takes the thing and goes, gets everything. And I say, don't forget my eyebrows. Interfaces and interact. Who wants to interact with my interface? What if you said, give me a -2 haircut all around? Then they'd have to actually dig into my skull, I guess, at that point. Which, that's too much. That's too close for me. That's too close of a cut. Look, there's absolutely not any kind of conspiracy to steal this election. There may be instances of irregularities in voting in various places, but it's just not true. I mean, there's not any disputing that approximately half the country, if not a little more, hate Trump. Yeah, I have them here. I know I have them, horse smuggler. I have the tools. But, it's more of a job than it sounds like. See, that's a good point that Oliver Lyndon makes there. He says, it's unlikely there's widespread voter fraud. Trump told his voters not to vote by mail. He shouldn't be surprised when mail-in votes go heavily towards Biden. Well, you'll get it. You'll get it. But look, I'm changing the rules. Originally, I guaranteed that you'd have continual spectacular fun, but I'm going to make it a little easier on myself. I'm only guaranteeing that you'll have at least one instance of spectacular fun while you're here. Now, if in fact, at the end of the live stream, you don't have one instance, then I will refund you 5 minutes of your time. What's 100%? Who got 100% of what where? That would be suspicious. Really? Okay, well, if that's true, then maybe I need to look into it more. I tend to just dismiss Grass Eater's stuff because he likes to he likes to see a lot of conspiracies. But let me look into it a little bit. I will resolve the issue in short order. So right now, it shows Biden with 253, Trump with 214 in the Electoral College. Let me see here. Evidence of voter fraud. Let me just Google that. Evidence of voter fraud in 2020 election. Okay, so let's look at some things. This is BBC. Viral tweets allege that dead people were casting votes in the key state of Michigan, adding to a Trump-led chorus of unproven voter fraud claims. Michigan authorities have hit back calling the rumors misinformation, noting the votes from dead people were rejected. Sharpie votes still count in Arizona. Erroneous Michigan vote map. A map of voting in Michigan from the election night, which shows a sudden increase of around 130,000 votes for Joe Biden, but none for Mr. Trump, has gone viral on social media. President Trump has tweeted the image, which is raising speculation of voter fraud. It's commonplace that state authorities will add a big chunk of votes to a tally at once. But social media users are questioning why Mr. Trump didn't have any vote added to his tally in this particular update. The explanation is simple. It was a data entry error that was later corrected. Decision Desk, the election monitoring website which created the map, said it was a simple error from a file created by the state that we ingested. The state noticed the error and produced an updated count. Spokesperson added, this sort of thing can happen on election night, and we expect other vote tabulators in Michigan experience this error and correct it in real time like we did. Twitter has added labels to the tweets that raise suspicion, saying some or all the content shared in this tweet is disputed and might be misleading. Wisconsin did not have more ballots than registered voters. Widespread claim that more people in Wisconsin voted than were registered. A user tweeted, total number of registered voters, 3129. Total number of votes cast, 3239. However, the number of registered voters is outdated. The latest figure as of November 1st is 3684. Still a lot of people voting out of registered voters. It's still, and that's a suspiciously high percentage. 3239 out of 3684. So that's 3,239,920 voters out of 3,684,726 voters voted in this election. I mean, what kind of percentage is that? Let's see. Math. So I need to put 3129 divided by 3129 divided by 3239. 3129 divided by 3239. 3129 000 divided by 3239 920. 96%, almost 97%. Round up 97%. Let me see. Data regarding voter turnout in Wisconsin for presidential elections. Fact check. Wisconsin turnout not vastly different than in the past. Wait, hold on. So listen to this. Okay, first of all, President Trump's son shared a tweet that suggested voter turnout was 89% in Wisconsin, a substantial increase from previous years. The 89% turnout figure is false. The figure is the result of dividing the number of ballots cast in the election in Wisconsin, 32, 96, 374, by the number of registered voters in Wisconsin on November 1st, 3684, 726. Well, first of all, that doesn't turn out to be 89%. It turns out to be 96%. So why are they saying 89%? And it says the percentage isn't an accurate measure of turnout because new voters can register on election day in Wisconsin. It also doesn't use the formula used by the Wisconsin Elections Commissions to calculate election turnout in previous years. So comparison to previous years' reported turnout wouldn't be valid. Okay, so what's the formula they use? Why would it not be voters divided by registered voters? Using their fit formula, though, the Elections Commission reports 73% turnout in this election. Oh, the Wisconsin Elections Commission uses the estimated voting age population as the denominator. Okay. So it would be 3296 divided by 4536, which is 73% turnout. I mean, okay, I accept that. That explains it. That explains it perfectly. So, okay, of all the things I've seen so far, the only thing that struck me as suspicious was that rate of voting. And it's explained now by the fact that that's not how Wisconsin measures its percentages. See what other claims. Trump claimed that the vote counts in the election are rigged and the counting should cease in cities like Philadelphia, claims made without any supporting facts. These claims will undermine confidence in the election's winner and destroy faith in the integrity of the voting process. He's disparaged mail-in voting as inherently fraudulent, despite the fact that he voted by mail this election cycle. FI tool function. He's given no evidence to support this claim. Indeed, voting by mail has a long track record of success. So the reason he's trying to discredit mail-in voting is because Democrats disproportionately used it in this election. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. This election has not been stolen. Well, I mean, What I'm saying is if you divide 32, 9, if you divide 36, 8, 4, 7, 2. Let me get up a calculator here. Okay. All right, so here we go. So we've got 32, 9, 6, 3, 7, 4 divided by 36, 8, 4, 7, 2, 6 equals, oh, you're right, I must have put in the wrong number. It is 89%. Lo and behold, you are correct. So, I mean, I don't blame people for being suspicious when seeing 3,300,000 out of 3,600,000 people voted. I don't blame people for being suspicious about that. But it turns out that Wisconsin apparently has generally high voter turnout, and that they use the standard of eligible voters rather than registered voters. Michigan County having 6,000 votes overturned. Okay, let me look into it. Michigan. Okay. A Michigan court overturned an extension that allowed absentee ballots to be received 2 weeks after Election Day, ruling that the votes must be received by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. The ruling by the Michigan Court of Appeals marks reversal of the lower court decision and hands a win to Republicans in a crucial swing state, undercutting Democrats' efforts to ease restriction on voting. When was this article written? It's old. News. So, okay, well, if there were votes overturned, wouldn't it be because Trump sued to stop the count? I don't see any reason to think that there's actual fraud here. Can you link me to something convincing? If anybody has a link they want to share with me, they think is convincing that this thing is actually being stolen, raise your hand and I'll make you a okay, well, give me Legend Paul, I'm going to make you a moderator briefly. Or if you can if somebody find me a link that would actually have something convincing in it, and I'm open to consider it. You know, I will side with whoever's correct. Yeah, I'm still going to run if Trump loses. I mean, the thing is this. I perfectly understand being opposed to Biden and Harris. You got good reason to not want to vote for Biden and Harris. Lots of good reason. Got lots of good reason to think that electing Biden and Harris is doomed to fail. Okay, but aren't you on the other side of this argument? Um, okay. Who's Tim Pool? Go ahead and put your links. Grass Eater, will you stop assuming everybody's a pedophile? So note here that what they're saying about Michigan vote counting thing is this. The county clerk came forward and said, "Hey, we've got a problem. 6,000 votes were cast for the wrong party." And presumably they fixed it, right? But or either that or just nix those votes or something. I don't know. But the point is, it was self-reported as a mistake, and the argument the Republicans are using is that University of Michigan computer science professor J. Alex Halderman, a voting machine expert, told the Free Press it's plausibly human error, but if a simple screw-up could cause these problems, that sounds like a technical design flaw. It's natural to wonder whether similar problems could have occurred in other jurisdictions that use the same machine. Fortunately, even if the county had noticed, this would have been caught and corrected during Michigan's normal canvassing procedures when they compare the results to the paper tapes from the machines. So that's pretty convincing, since that's Michigan's protocol, that nobody's trying to steal that election. that it would be necessarily in vain to do that as an effort to steal the election, because it would get caught due to the nature of the protocols of the Michigan voting system. So I've yet to see anything to convince me that this election is being stolen. Remember, of course, in the last election that Trump won, he lost the popular vote by a fairly substantial amount. So in some regard, he got lucky last time to get elected. He's less popular now. Why would we think the Democrats would need to steal this election? So it's like, it's a skill I have. I'd like to think I'm pretty damn good at it. When people come at me with claims that might sound a little crazy, I'm willing to give them a legitimate shot and investigate and resolve the matter one way or the other as to who's got the best argument. What do you think about the Electoral College versus the 100% Democratic vote? I'm in favor of the Electoral College. No, I do dismiss you in general, but sometimes I'll go, okay, let me check into it. And the evidence doesn't support what you're saying. Okay. He called the election early. He's actively misleading people with voter fraud when there really isn't any, at least not to the extent that he says. It's pretty difficult to voter fraud successfully in the United States because most polling stations and all of the vote counting stuff and all that kind of stuff is generally done at the local level. So, like Morridge participated. When I go to polling stations around here, there's one universal. They're full of being manned by nice old ladies, nice old men who are clearly nonpartisan and enjoying being part of the citizen democracy, and who take their job seriously and take the important protocols of democracy seriously. It's heartwarming. It's what needs to be. Well, the thing is, Evelyn S., you don't have to worry about it on some level. If I go in and say, I'm Reggie Smith with my address, and you got me down on your thing, I'm here to vote, and then you vote. The worst case scenario is that you're a faker who's stealing the real Eddie's vote. So Eddie won't be able to vote again. Eddie's vote's been used up. Now, that guy, if he was faking and he has an actual driver's license, could maybe vote again, but he'd have to have access to knowing which people aren't going to come in. It's like, it'd be very difficult to pull off. The thing is, I don't oppose requiring an ID to vote. I think that's fine. They require ID to drive, to ride buy alcohol. Even, they require ID to buy non-alcoholic beer, even if it's 0%. I mean, they never ask it of me, but it's subject to the same rules as alcoholic beer in regards to, like, you can't buy it at self checkout. Well, I mean, Oliver Lyman, here's the thing. The purpose of the Electoral College is to give the smaller states equivalent voice in their federation of states. The federal government is supposed to be the government of the states, not the government of the people. It's had massive mission creep, and that's part of the problem. When the country was founded, the states initially tried to have the Articles of the Confederacy, which failed because they afforded the federal government too little power. When they afforded the government more power, they still did everything that they could to constrain the scope of it. And the Constitution does that with the principle of enumerated powers, which almost immediately was broken. So, for example, the first breaking of enumerated powers occurred when the tax and spend power of Congress was deemed to not be constrained by the other articulated powers of Congress. In other words, what's suggestive or what's naturally intuited about the way it's set up is that Congress can only do these things. And it says things like deal with the post office, deal with copyright and trademark stuff, deal with interstate commerce concerns, which is supposed to mean be the arbiter of disputes between the states and ensuring that there's like an EU essentially between the states. And a number of other things. One of them is tax and spend, but the implication is that it can't tax and spend in ways that violate the enumerated powers. So one of the first court challenges to the Supreme Court was, okay, well, I know our enumerated powers doesn't say that we can spend money on providing everybody a free hat. So since that's not among the enumerated powers of the government providing hats, then we shouldn't be able to tax and spend to provide hats. We have to tax and spend to do things within the enumerated powers, within the category of the other things. So tax and spend for post office, fine. Tax and spend for copyright and trademark, fine. Tax and spend for maintaining a navy, fine. Tax and spend for what else is one of the enumerated powers? For courts, interstate commerce, tax and spend for that stuff. So presumably, you could argue the federal government is justified to tax and spend on roads, as it qualifies as a matter of interstate commerce, which is a legitimate area of purview of the federal government, the Congress particularly. But you can't really argue that taxing and spending on, say, the Food and Drug Administration comprises respecting that those enumerated powers, because food safety is not one of the enumerated powers, right? So again, you can make the argument that since interstate commerce is an enumerated power, roads therefore are legitimate things to tax and spend on. You can't make the argument, though, that because trademark and copyright are legitimate powers, that we should have the Federal Drug and Food Administration. That there's nothing in the enumerated powers that would qualify as an example of. So the first challenge to the enumerated powers was the government wanted to spend on something that didn't qualify as one of those other powers. And the debate was lost almost right away. And the courts ruled that because tax and spend is a power, it means they can tax and spend on anything. Now, that kind of defeats the purpose of enumerated powers, doesn't it? Was someone officially elected? My penis was elected to your mom's face. Don't worry, it's just a 2-year position. I don't plan to run again. Maybe we could make a deal with the fish so they don't die. Are the fish dying? What are they dying of? Boredom? I'm so tired of the ocean. Can we just go someplace that's not wet for once? Mob crowd in French is foul. Fool. I tell you, you want to talk about a controversial topic. People don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's the beheading in France over the cartoon. This is something that's always appalled me. And, I've made a lot of strong statements that if you're somebody who thinks that what your religion deems sacred is the determinant factor when it comes in conflict with another person's free expression, then you are barbarians, uncivilized animals who don't belong who we ought not treat like equals. So and this is the thing, if you ask an average Islamic person, even somebody who's maybe around here and chatting with me and I get along with great and think they're cool and everything, if you ask them these questions, hey, do you think it's okay to use physical violence on someone who draws pictures of Muhammad with poop on his face? Or do you think it's okay to arrest them or whatever? What would seem to be, to any civilized human being, an instant, no, of course not. That's appalling. You don't get that from even intellectual Muslims who want to talk to me. The ones who reject it as an idea, it's after some contemplation. The thing is, my take on that is you crack down hard on that shit immediately. Like, you find out everybody who's advocating that shit and deport them. Deport them. Look, I don't want to be groupist. An individual is an individual first and foremost. But I find the institutions of Islam to be remarkably unfit for involvement in civilization. They impose a centralized interface style control over everybody who ascribes to that religion. It's misogynistic, it's homophobic, it's anti-free thought. Those cultures arrest atheists. They they kill people. They kill artists for expressing themselves. So those cultures are not okay. That's not an acceptable, it's pre-enlightenment thinking and needs to be treated as such. The most important thing to note is that there was once a secular Arab world. There was once a Persia. There was once a Turkey. There was once a Lebanon. It was a jewel of the Middle East. And all of these places had one thing in common that made them civilized. They were secular in their application of law, by and large. You cannot ever successfully govern with something that is indeterminate, like religion. It's not a legitimate warrant for anything. You can't justify why your policy is better because of this religious argument. And the reason you can't is because it requires us to agree on a frame that we ought not have to agree on in order to peacefully coexist. How do I know Jesus existed? I'm not concerned with his existence in particular. A lot of people are very interested in this existence thing. I can pray to Jesus without affirming statements about his existence, It's a weird status for people to get so obsessed about existence, like, well, that you can't affirm that thing. It doesn't exist. I play that game a little bit with race, but when I'm in my more nuanced and honest mode, I say, yes, well, of course, race exists as a status that people ascribe to other people and lay claim to for various reasons. And my basic position on it is that any instance when somebody is using an identity status for some sort of argumentational purpose is always bad because it means you're not addressing the real issue, whatever the real issue is. No, I removed it, I think, because He's done posting his link. Do you have a link to post, Louisiana? If so, I will briefly make you a moderator so you can post a link. But if you don't have a link to post, then yeah. I try not to end up with shit tons of moderators. Every moderator is a chance of an accidental banning, which happens way more frequently than intentional banning. That tells you that your TE system is a little iffy if unintentional bans are more frequent than intentional bans. How many moderators do I got? I don't know. I'm not sure, but some. Rachel was my very first moderator. For a long time, I did these lectures. I had no moderators. I figured I could just moderate it myself. There wasn't that much action. So, and by and large, this is a channel that does less moderating than most, from what I can tell. In other words, some channels are quick to remove shit, ban people, etc. And even those that aren't so quick are probably quicker than me. All religions claim they hold the ultimate truth. How can there be room for more than one? I mean, I don't think my religion doesn't claim to hold the ultimate truth. My religion doesn't make claims like that. My religion is a personal thing that works for me. It's not something I evangelize about or try to get other people to ascribe to as well. I can describe my expression of faith, but it wouldn't include statements about universal and exclusive truth. You know, sorry, your brain is small. My membrane. That's why I can only do a limited amount of cocaine in one sitting. Small membrane. I'm so sorry to hear that. Your small membrane is really getting in the way of your partying. Yeah, sure is. Membrane, my membranes, remember. Now I'm starting to feel a little clownied out. I think I'll be able to go to sleep pretty well. What time is it? 12:01? Okay. I think I got till like 12:15 maybe. So I should go to bed by no later than 1 a.m. at the latest. Then the Crusades happened. And that's how Joan of Arc got killed, right? Or was that something different? Who's a famous crusader? Who's the successful crusader that you remember and go, that's how crusading, when crusading was cool, that's how it was done. Joan of Arc was not in the Crusades. Okay. So what was she fighting about? What did Joan of Arc fight about? What was she so upset about? Was she mad at her mother for not getting her the birthday present that she wanted? Well, thanks, Oliver Linehan. That's such nice Alpha Quadra FE. So familiar and comfortable. I reciprocate your Alpha Quadra warmth. Sure is nice being an Alpha Quadra, huh? High five out, Oliver Linehan. You have to differentiate between the source of religious belief, the people's interpretations, and ultimately the ultimate true. That was the sources of those trying to communicate. Well, I mean, the thing is about that presumes that the second two presume that religion is a communicative endeavor rather than an experiential endeavor. The first one is a good point. In fact, this point I make in a video that I'm uploading, I should start uploading it, which is called Matt Alcutt's. I don't know what I'm going to title it. Maybe just say Matt Alcutt and the perils of polar TI. I'm not sure. Could just call it Matt Alcutt's garbage paper, was my original title for it. Joan of Arc believed that God chose her to lead a crusade against the English that was invading France. So that doesn't count as a crusade, though. Not the Crusades. It was a crusade in the general sense, but it wasn't one of the Crusades, right? Most people are stupid, so their interpretation being foolish is not much of a surprise. Well, yeah. I'm trying to work away from that narrative. Most people are stupid. The reality of it keeps hitting me in the face. But the narrative itself, I'd like to change that reality, so, and part of changing that reality is reframing it, making it inclusive. So instead of saying to people, you're so stupid to say this and think this, you say, you're so smart to not say this and not think this, even if they do say that and think that. You gotta do it like that. Did you watch my Usher bid link I sent? No. Where did you send the link? That was Napster. Let me tell you, I made a video tonight that maybe it was a little savage about ENFP philosophizing. Don't take it personally. Okay, I was mad. I'm mad at this guy. I am personally mad at this guy. So I was just like, I couldn't help but let some pews out. Some pews got out with my pews. The thing about pews and pews is they like each other's company. So when I'm trying to send out some pews, a lot of times the pews will tag along. I'll say, no, pews, stay in the house. And they just ignore me. If I try to get in their way, it's pew, pew, pew. And I say, okay, I guess the pews have it. Upload video. That'll be good. Hey, you guys, guess what? I'm going to upload a video right now. And it's so good. It's so nice to finally be able to upload a video and just say, you know what? I'm done. That's it. This is done. I love it. Upload. Can you guess what I uploaded into your mom's face last night? Who can guess? One guess. Matthew Guts garbage paper. About Matthew Cut's desecration of thoughts. Oh, I'm still live streaming. I forgot I was live streaming. I do that. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna upload it. He's uploading right now. It's got some more time to upload. So what I hear is the voice of a bong rip calling me. This bong rip, his name is Jerry. And he's always been one of the more extroverted of the bong rips. Vegan Games is the one true God. I'm not sure one true God's duck people. As far as I can tell, he's ducked me. I'm pretty sure he's been made aware that I'm available to debate him. I've communicated to him before. Hey, if you want to stretch your legs a bit, debate me. No, he didn't reach out to me. Vegan Game? No. I reached out to him. There was somebody, one of the debater people, who was recommended me to me before, to contact, and the person who recommended it said, "Oh yeah, they'll debate anybody or whatever." And then I contacted them, and they emailed me back saying, "I'm sorry, I only debate people who have at least, I think it was 5,000 subscribers and 1,000 views per video." So I met the first criterion, I met the second, right? Is that really his criterion? Maybe. Does he apply? Is it something he's applied before? I don't know who it was. I don't remember who it was. I'm not saying it was him. It was somebody like that, though. Somebody recommended him to me and said, "No, he debates anybody," and then didn't debate me. People have a way of ducking me. You know, the better you are up to a point, you will duck me. When you're really good, then you don't have anything to worry about. And neither do I, because it'll be a meaningful exchange. Okay, Joey's correct. The animals don't die naturally, which is to say they wouldn't be dead if not for the violent interaction with humans that separates them from their life. However, Joey, if I were to structure a chicken farm that was very dangerous so that chickens on a regular basis suffered accidental deaths, and then were harvested, would that be okay? I think veganism is probably morally better than non-veganism. I mean, I think that vegetarianism is probably morally better than non-vegetarianism. I don't think that veganism is better than vegetarianism morally. I think they're morally equivalent. But I agree with you that nobody should be expected or required to do it, because vegetarianism is morally better as a positive moral indication, not as a negative moral obligation. Okay. No, but see, that's wrong, Joey. I may be having those chickens with the intent of eating them, but it is not with the intent of killing them. Killing is an intentional act. It's with the intent of providing an environment that is highly selective and to making sure the natural consequences of that highly selective environment don't go to waste. That seems fair. I'm concerned about the genome of the chicken. That's why I'm selecting for for the chickens that don't get killed by the various dangers that I've intentionally set up for them to get killed by. You may not have inherited family jewels, but you inherited that right, and too many people want to deny you that inheritance. What right is that? Formal debates do look kind of suspicious and rigged. Have you seen Oxford debates? Well-spoken feminists appeal to logical fallacies in order to dismantle traditional masculinity. What do you mean rigged? It looks like soap boxing. Well, I mean, it's true that both sides in a debate are typically well, I mean, that's a problem with framing it. Like, is this thing framed for a general audience, and what's going to motivate them, or is it framed for correctness on the assumption that the other people there are going to be evaluating it accordingly? It's going to turn out a lot different, She's a professional debater, but she didn't present what I consider to be arguments. Well, I mean, because one thing to remember is there are no good arguments about bad positions, ultimately. So if there's this identity shit going on, some feminist appeal to logical fallacies in order to dismantle traditional masculinity, well, if it's working, it's working. And that means that she's found an angle that caught people off guard. And there's a lag while people figure out the response to it. So goodbye, Anders H. One thing you could say is, well, you could say just about any one thing in the world, I suppose. Right. So if you talk about COVID as an example, the wrong arguments continue to win, in part because there's no counter advocacy that's been considered acceptable. So if in fact we don't go down this wear a mask or be shamed and COVID's the worst thing ever road, if we don't go down this road, well, what's the alternative? People don't see any alternative. They've accepted the fact that it's not okay to go out without any masks because you might put somebody at risk, and bam, 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 bam. And yeah, I'm pretty tired. Grass eater could see that I'm tiring out here, huh? Maggots are gross. But I tell you who likes them. Chickens. Chickens will eat the shit out of those things. Oh, right. That's what I'm doing. 82% uploaded. I guess I should do a little TESE shit here. Hashtag debates. Or hashtag philosophy. Hashtag debate. Hashtag philosophy. Hashtag. What's this shit called again? Datalogical theory of man. This is my datalogical theory of man. Oh yeah? I think your datalogical theory of man is dumb. It's like it's like yeah. That's not what I wanted to do. That's wrong. Let's try again. It's like dag. It's like yeah. Did I do the same thing again? Am I on drugs of some sort? Oh, maybe a little bit of drugs. There. Now I got it right. Third time's the charm. Wrong PDF. Third time was not the charm. Wow. I'm really struggling. I'm really having problems. Here we go. DM theory. I guess that's what I should just call it here. It's fine. DM theory. This video addresses the efforts of Matthew Alcott to create a theory of everything. This PDF provided a good provided ample good examples of terrible thinking, of bad argumentation. Indeed, reason in general is more science than art. And what do you call this? Pantomimes? No. And philosophy, theater, the sort the philosophy theater Alcott practices displays a there's no regard of cuts version of philosophy all art no science. Compoundingly compounding this version is all art and no science, and he's terrible at the art part. You can find the document I used in contrasting against cut discursive vandalism. Okay, now docs, three things, three orders of operations: docs, shocks, and pox. Copy link. In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed in P And I'm mad. Emo is mad. This is mad. That's not where I'm supposed to paste that. No, I'm supposed to paste right here. There you go. Now we're cooking with gas. Not gasoline you put in your car, of course. I'm talking about natural gas, which is among the naturalist gases you're going to find west of the Mississippi. If you're still east of the Mississippi, well, don't eliminate the possibility you might travel west someday. And this information I'm providing you will become applicable all of a sudden. Okay, we're gonna. Time to put Matthew Linton Acut in his proverbial plizace. That's right. Capture, I'm going to save you this capture. A2Q. Probably haven't used that title before. Capture A2Q. Where you go here. Capture A2Q. There you is. Looking hot. Looking juicy. Looking like you're ready to get gamped. Oh yeah. Let's put some more words on this. still streaming, huh? Oh, I keep forgetting about that. Sorry, I forget about everybody. Where's that video though? I was already uploaded. I'm looking for instead the thumbnail I just made. Where would that have gone? What did I call it? I forget already. God damn it. Bad thing in NFT news. Okay. Bad thing. Okay. Now, monetization. Add suitability. That's fine. Three elements. Visibility. Huh. I've got members only for the thing. Alright, I guess you just make it instant premiere. I end this live stream first though. Alright, so here's gonna be the video on this instant premiere that's gonna happen right now, okay? I'm gonna put the link here so that if you want, you can watch the premiere. Give me 1 second just to publish it though before you push it. See you later.